The IB TOEFL then, and it was great. If you're going to attack one, you have to attack them all. So we'd say about the TOEFL. I actually really like the IB TOEFL. I think it's a really good test. I think there's some things in it that are really very, very good. And I will support it always. You know there's a but. The but is that when it came out first, we were being told, wow, this is a new way of testing. Man, this is fantastic. Nobody's done this before. Integrated testing. Hello, T was like 20 years before that, but that was the other side of the Atlantic, so it didn't count. but it was introduced and it's there. And it does work quite well. There's only one bit of it doesn't work very well. It could be fixed, but it doesn't work. The reading to writing doesn't work. And it doesn't work for a simple reason that a lot of human raters are lazy. And they don't read the input. So they don't judge it properly. They don't judge it accurately. So weaker students, we know, anybody here who's trying to do integrated reading into writing, with weaker students, they tend to copy chunks. And then as they get better, they copy smaller chunks. And by the time they get to kind of the middle levels, they're only copying sort of nicety pieces. And by the time they get up to an advanced level, they're cherry picking. A nice idea, a word here, I like that phrase. But they ignore much of the text. So you can almost see a progression through their language level as in terms of how they use the input reading text. But it's a shortcoming of any test that has one input and one output. The solution, you need more than one input. More than one input does help the problem. But it causes other problems. Right. The latest kid on the block is the Pearson English test, which is 4 skills, it's standardized. It's the most indirect test that's around right now. It's gone right back to the beginning. In some ways, it's a real step backwards because there's nothing that speaking is done by a machine listening to the tone of your voice, basically. You can't understand. Yeah. I speak much louder than there is a mic. I hate using mics because it has to stand still. I'm not very good at standing still. So every now and then I will have to go walkabout. But I promise if I go walkabout, I'll up my voice a little bit more. Or else I'll walk about that way. So it'll be even better. But there's good news and there's bad news. There's always good news and there's bad news. Today there's particularly good news and bad news. Because when I was being introduced, I realized I'm not really interested in talking about that anymore. Because I've been talking about the Common European Framework for 12 years or something. And when I wrote the abstract, it seemed like a good idea. And I was genuinely interested. I had the attention span of a gnat, I was genuinely interested in it, and I thought you would be as well when I fell out of love with the idea of actually putting it together. So the thing that I put together is slightly different. But that's good news. Right, so it's kind of bad that you're not getting exactly what it's put together. But it's good that you're getting something. And it is actually related. You know, I'm not going to go off on a complete wild goose chase. It is actually related. It's one part of what I'm going to talk about. Because what's really got me interested in the last little while, again, after a long time, I don't know what last time, I can't see what I'm doing. I stepped back a bit, now I can see what I'm doing. I suppose about 10 or 11 years ago, I got interested in the area of assessing language for a specific purpose. What is it? How do you do it? What does it mean? And recently I've been going back to the area because it begins to fascinate me again, because I've realized, probably a bit slower than I thought I think I've never seen anybody write it down anywhere, that actually assessing language for specific languages or for specific purposes is what it's all about. In fact, all language testing is it's not for a purpose, why are we doing it? We're wasting our time. So with that great dawning of information in my brain, I decided, wouldn't it be a good idea to take this opportunity to go back and take a look at it and see what we did and maybe try to figure out a little bit why. And then fit that into some of the current arguments that are going on about assessment. And then wind up with some idea of where it might all go from here, if anywhere. And as you'll see as I go through the talk, there are almost as many questions in there as answers. Because one thing about assessment and testing, that whatever our esteemed major testing companies tell us, we know very little about what we do. I've spent about a third of my adult life, well, half of my adult life or more, a third of my existence on this planet, when I wasn't chasing after a football, trying to figure out what testing is all about. I still have no clue, really. I have some. I can talk about it all day long. I'm not sure how good that is, because we really don't know very much. And sadly, most tests that are out there are developed using what I call the suck and see approach. You know, when you were a kid, you wanted to know what flavor a nice lolly was, and you sucked it to see what flavor it was. We make a test, and then we do some validation studies to see is it actually doing what we think it should be doing, or to figure out what the hell is it doing anyway. And that's a bit wrong. It's the wrong way around as far as I'm concerned. So we don't actually know very much about what we do. That's a fact. So let's start from there. I'm going to start around 1980, but of course the story at this side of the world started before that, in about 1960. 1961 there was a meeting that brought some of the well-known people in on this side of the planet together to discuss the development of the TOEFL. So the TOEFL was the first ESP test that came out in 1964. And at the time, it was very modern. It was based on what was seen then as the best technology, the best knowledge, the best approach. It was the test when it was made. It was modern. At the time, in Europe, we were still very much focused on content. So the situation had happened over the previous probably 50 years, that the philosophy of assessment in the Americas had moved towards a philosophy of psychometrics. It must measure accurately to be a good test. Philosophy in the